Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's proposal for ending their full-scale invasion is not doable, and repeated his call for face-to-face talks with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. In the second round of direct peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv on Monday, Russia presented Ukraine with a memorandum setting out ceasefire conditions. It included demands Ukraine has previously said are non-starters.
We don't need to wait the time when he will be ready for the peace. And from him, we can't wait for his initiative moving to peace. We just have to pressure on him, and maybe we will get peace. And we are very close to this with sanctions and etc. But we need unity in it, and joint position.
The Ukrainian leader said he sees little value in continuing talks at the current level of negotiations. He called for a truce with Russia ahead of a possible summit with Putin, potentially also including US President Donald Trump in an effort to remove obstacles to peace.
Thank you very much.
The European Union is extending the temporary protection granted to Ukrainian refugees until March 2027, as Kyiv is also looking for a way to motivate Ukrainians to come back home. Newly created Ministry of National Unity of Ukraine is tasked with keeping close ties with people abroad and finding the way to bring them back.
This brings, from now, more than 20 months of clarity for Ukrainians here in the European Union to plan their life and to plan their future return to Ukraine once the conditions will allow that. For some, peace and stable peace is priority. For others, it is also needed the economic development, job market, better employment, new jobs, economic breakthrough. For others, European integration. But if we go this way, most of Ukrainians will seriously consider relocating back to Ukraine.
Until then, Alexei Chernyshov says, they have been contributing to the EU's economy and labor market.
I think the contribution to European Union countries is very strong. I think Ukrainians in Europe is a very strong asset to a labor market. They're professional, they're hardworking, they're intelligent, they're educated, and obviously the labor markets will compete between each other.
Ukraine and the EU also agreed an appointment of a special envoy to oversee the transition, integration and return at the political level.
We are having a big support from European Commission on setting up a special envoy role for Ukraine, and we will also develop the Unity Hub program throughout the European countries. I'm sure it will develop the possibilities for Ukrainians to consider serious return home, again, conditionally on the stable peace.
An estimated 4.3 million Ukrainians left their country and relocated across the EU. And while Ukraine really hopes people will come back as soon as they can, Chernyshov admits that it is getting more difficult as Russia's invasion of Ukraine drags on. Kyiv hopes people will return, but it will not force them to.
We cannot force anybody to come back. This is impossible. The only motivation to go back to Ukraine is successful Ukraine and your love to your homeland. These are the only two factors that make Ukrainians go back and consider this decision seriously. No forceful actions can be provided and will be provided.
Glacier-related risks are becoming a global reality, says Celeste Saulo, head of the World Meteorological Organization. Speaking at the Glacier Preservation Conference in Dushanbe, Tajikistan, she said that no matter how developed the country is, all are at risk. Saulo pointed to the recent disaster at the Swiss village of Blatten, where a glacier-triggered mudslide wiped out nearly all livelihoods. One person remains missing, but early warning systems helped reduce the toll. As climate change accelerates, the WMO is calling for more investment in monitoring and forecasting, especially to protect mountain communities.
This is the new reality. We need to raise awareness of the importance of hydromet services for every single country in every single region. And that's why we advocate for more investments in monitoring. With better monitoring, we can expect to have better forecasts. And with those, we can expect to have better early warning systems in the end to protect societies, to protect people, and to protect livelihoods.
Last week, the Swiss village of Blatten was buried under a massive avalanche of rock and ice from the Birch Glacier and the nearby Lonza riverbed. Days before the disaster, experts warned about a possible collapse of the glacier, which held 1.5 million cubic meters of ice. In response, local authorities evacuated around 300 people and livestock. A few days after the slide, the Lonza River began flowing again through the debris.
This spectacular footage from the Black Sea shows the Romanian Navy testing new technology to destroy drifting sea mines, marking the first time this system has been used since the start of the Ukraine war. With tactical precision, naval forces pilots quickly localize the area, transmit the coordinates and approach the target. They are working against the clock to install the explosive, and the pilot's accuracy in positioning the helicopter is crucial. Tensions remain high as the divers wait to be recovered. Alongside NATO allies, the Romanian military has been training for these missions for 2 years.
Orice procedură ce necesită explozivi sau lucru cu explozivi trebuie exersată foarte des și foarte mult, datorită riscurilor pe care le implică.
Sunt scafandru de aproape 10 ani și vreau să spun că de 9 ani sunt numai în cursuri de pregătire.
More than 120 sea mines out of 500 that were allegedly detached from a Ukrainian mine dam at the beginning of the war have been identified in the Black Sea in the last 3 years.
Forțele navale ale Ucrainei au reușit să facă operația de minare înaintea invaziei Federației Ruse. Pentru a proteja zona, numărul de mine nu putem să știm.
The MCM Black Sea Battle Group, which includes Romania, Bulgaria and Turkey, maintains the safety of maritime traffic in the Black Sea.
Această procedură, într-adevăr, este folosită de către partenerii noștri din NATO.
Training will intensify throughout the month.
What if you had to pay for cabin luggage on a plane? This question is on the table when EU ambassadors meet on Wednesday. According to sources consulted by Euronews, member states are debating a proposal to create a new free hand luggage item, one that can be slipped under the seat. This means a charge could apply to other stowed cabin bags. Consumer associations believe that this surcharge would be illegal.
Actuellement, ce qu'il faut savoir, c'est que la Cour de justice européenne a dit très clairement que les bagages à main font partie intégrante du prix du billet de base. Donc normalement, pas de surcharge sur le prix à partir du moment où les bagages à main ont une taille raisonnable. Donc tout ce qu'on voit, c'est une prolifération des pratiques des compagnies aériennes justement de faire payer ces bagages à main. Ce qu'on demande, c'est d'avoir des règles très claires. Le passager doit être capable de mener un bagage à main et une petite valise ou un sac à dos.
The Airlines for Europe Association, which represents 17 airlines, has a different view of the judge's decision. According to the organization, the reform proposal supported by the Polish presidency of the Council of the European Union should, above anything, provide clarification.
I think it's important to point out what the current proposal from the Poles does is to set the dimensions for that personal item so that there's the clarity and transparency for all passengers and also for airlines alike. So I'd emphasise again, under EU law, under the single market, airlines have the right to unbundle their services in order to offer the best package for passengers and that they can choose the exact services that they want to keep the price as low as possible.
The other point up for discussion is regarding concerns on compensation for passengers whose flights are delayed. Currently, passengers are entitled to a compensation if flights are delayed for more than 3 hours. The latest proposal would increase this limit to 4. Member states are divided. A few countries, including Germany and Spain, seem to be opposed to any change in the compensation rules. However, it is the entire revision that must be validated or rejected. In other words, opposing changes to the compensation rules will bring down the whole reform. Muslims from all over the world have begun the once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage called the Hajj. On Wednesday, pilgrims started their 5-day journey by circling the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise direction. They then travel to surrounding sacred sites in Mecca, where they will immerse themselves in other religious rituals. Before leaving the holy city, pilgrims will circle the Kaaba another 7 times, signifying a spiritual farewell to the sacred sanctuary. This year's Hajj falls at the start of the summer, making the heat an additional challenge to the already physically demanding pilgrimage. In a response to the soaring summer temperatures, Saudi Arabia has invested in crowd control and cooling systems and are taking additional measures to contain temperatures that are expected to exceed 40 degrees Celsius.